It's been about 4 weeks since their release. Honestly, if you haven't seen Oppenheimer or Barbie yet, go see them both. These are both experiences that you should see on the big screen. But before you see Oppie, here's some tips on how to watch his movie. Tip number 1, this is a long movie, so use the restroom beforehand, get the large Coke, but don't drink it too fast, and grab anything else you need because you're going to want to settle in for the long haul. Tip number 2, you're going to want to do your research. This is a very information-heavy movie. You got a lot of scenes out of chronological order. You got a lot of names coming at you really fast. You're going to want to know the context at least a little bit before you go in, so you won't be so confused and lost like, admittedly, I was. Tip number 3, there are some graphic scenes in this movie, and I'm not talking about anything nuclear related. Let's just say it should have been I am becoming Death Destroyer of Worlds. You'll get it when you watch it. Just be aware there are some scenes you may not want to watch with your parents. Tip number 4, pay attention to the scene color. Perspective is everything in movies, really any sort of narrative. It heavily affects truth. So, when the scenes are in black and white, pay attention to whose eyes we are looking through. Now let's move on to something far more layered and complex. I mean, sure, in Oppenheimer, you got all the emotional drama. Oh, boo-hoo, I made a nuke and they used it. But in Barbie, we get the clash of realism and idealism. And it works so well. Hold on a second, this outfit needs to be perfect.
Oh, nice.
Okay, well, that's the best I could do. I'm sorry, Barbie. Barbie is a movie with a lot going on. There's your main foreground story, which is strong enough to stand on its own, but there is also the spotlight that reflects off of Barbie's mirror world into ours to call out and toy around with actual grievances and struggles. Sometimes this is done through comedy, sometimes it's monologue directly, but either way, go in with an open mind.
I love the smell of horses and oats.
Barbie, let's not pretend like it doesn't smell like straight manure in here. This is why comedy and fantasy are two great ways to deal with sensitive real-world issues. There's a buffer between the individual and the idea that is being presented, so nobody feels attacked. Furthermore, these concepts are far more approachable in the guise of entertainment. Those who may have previously been defensive may find themselves chuckling and, more importantly, after that, thinking. You can toy with, play with, like a Barbie, real-world issues which may feel like using inappropriate levity. That can happen, but when done right, it simply makes things easier to dissect. Oh, by the way, I gave her a better outfit. Anyways, while we're taking a quick break, can we talk about that scene in the CEO's office where the guy comes in, tells the first person at the end of the table what he needs to tell the CEO, and the information is traded from ear to ear by whisper. They missed a huge chance to do a telephone game joke. I thought that's what they were setting up for, but they didn't do it. I was so shocked. I was not taught that that's how reality worked. My training tells me that he should have received something that was just so wildly different than what the guy first said that it didn't make any sense. But hey, I guess that this is the Barbie world. But it wasn't. It was the real world. So does the telephone game? Why do we even play that? Anyways, dealing with these issues in narrative, it's like war games, like DEF CON, which I was playing earlier. It is a quick, safe simulation showing, in brief, what happens in life. So, at the end of the day, you can see a perspective or a possibility play out in front of you, and maybe you have a better idea of the context of the real world moving forward, be it a war game or a perspective on the current social climate. Narrative can more flawlessly convey perspective where words sometimes may not get through. By literally acting out situations, someone can see what characters go through and relate it to what those in the real world might be feeling, even if they haven't ever experienced a situation in the same way that the character on the screen has. I can think of 2 clear examples of this as a guy watching Barbie. Like when Barbie and Ken make their first foray into the real world, Barbie has lived in a clean, sanitized world where men don't catcall, and suddenly she is heckled around every corner. Now, I knew before this movie that catcalling is really, really shitty, but I could see a message play out on screen that while men tend not to mind it, for women it can be really jarring, gross, and even scary. And as we follow the lead, Margot Robbie, and her talented acting as she reacts to everything happening, anyone with empathy is gonna go, yeah, I feel it. It doesn't feel great, and Ken doesn't seem to get it. Now, it's all handled very diplomatically, and the film gives these points a nod while keeping the surface story strong and not throwing off the entire vibe of the movie. And in the second example, this is something really anyone can relate to, but that the movie outlines. Like the CEO who uses the idea of empowerment as a sales pitch and ends up making a caricature of the ideal woman that no one can attain. We strike again on the motif of realism versus idealism. People typically don't get to be a Barbie, an astronaut, or a doctor with perfect form, flawless skin, free of cellulite. Typically doesn't happen. And not everyone is going to get to be a Ken. I'm not a Ken. I mean, I may not be able to blast a man away with the force of my abs, although I probably can with my ass. Not that I have a good ass, I just might have IBS. But the point of this movie is that you don't have to be. You don't have to be a Barbie or a Ken, and you don't have to be perfect and live in this ideal world to be happy. And frankly, you don't even always have to be happy. You are still a legitimate person, and your life is still a real and powerful experience. It's similar to what Barbie told Ken. There is a message for the men in the audience. Basically, she let him know that he is more than what he pursues. He is whole in himself. A woman doesn't need a man to complete them, but neither does a man need a woman. It boils down to this. You are enough. Just be you, dude. But don't be an asshole. Barbie handles its commentary well, integrating the message while maintaining foreground story integrity. So, at the end of the day, it's just a really fun movie to watch. And that's all I've got. Hold on a second. Why is Alan approaching me like that? He looks mad. I did eat the leftovers he put in the fridge. But anyways, I'm probably not in any danger. It's just Alan, right? Y'all have a good one.